All right. Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Let me share our screen and then we will begin. All right. Everyone can see our screen okay? Excellent. Why are we here really? We actually want to talk to you about best practices for secure WordPress development. We want to share with you how Elementor works and things that we do to avoid pitfalls in security. We will be talking about some common vulnerabilities and what they are exactly, how we deal with them. Without further ado, let's start.
All right, so I'll introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Ohad. I'm like Zvi said, I'm here about almost 4 years now in Elementor. I used to be a developer in the editor team and then a team lead in the editor team. And I've moved on since to a different role, but we're still tied together and we're still working on the same concepts of security because other things that we develop here are also either related to Elementor or are run on WordPress. So we try to keep those rules that apply to all of us, basically to keep ourselves safe from like what do you call it, pitfalls of those vulnerabilities. And Udi, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm a full stack tech lead. As we said, I've been with Elementor for about 2 years now. I work on Elementor, the editor itself, Elementor and Elementor Pro. That's it's pretty much, I think we can start.
And Zvi, you've all heard mumbling for a few minutes, so the mic is ours now.
Yeah, so this is just like one of those cliche slides to show you like the importance of security and why, and also part of the problem, like part of the reason of why we're here, because as I'm sure you're aware, like Elementor and all the entire Elementor ecosystem has been in like WordPress theme news for the past few months with a bunch of vulnerabilities, both in our plugin and in third-party and add-ons like you guys are working on. And this is part of the reason that we're doing this, to kind of help everyone else try and improve security and kind of avoid these kinds of headlines in the news. Okay, so
with him, what's in it for me? You're probably asking. It's probably whatever goes here for us is the same for you. If you're developing an extension to Elementor, it probably carries the name Elementor somewhere in it. If there's a vulnerability that is tied to Elementor, either directly by the core itself or Elementor Pro or a third-party plugin, it kind of affects in a negative name on your plugin, on your extension. And the main idea is that we're all in this ecosystem and we should look out for each other. And that's the way we're giving out and trying to help maybe like guide you guys and teach you how we work here. And if you take something out of it, that's great. If you don't, that's also great. At least you understand. And if you do have questions, please write them to Alon, and we'll get you there later.
All right, so let's talk about the problems. The most common vulnerability there is, not only in Elementor, WordPress, in all of the internet, is cross-site scripting, XSS. There's also cross-site request forgery, which is very common and very dangerous. And there's a bunch of other vulnerabilities that we will talk about shortly. So let's start talking about cross-site scripting. What do you want to
cross-site scripting? Basically, it's running scripts that are not supposed to run. Either by injecting code which is not sanitized, not escaped, not cleaned, and there are two sides. There's the saving side and there's the view side. On the data holding side, the saving side, it's either not sanitized before it's inserted to the database, and on the view side, it's probably not escaped, and that's why it runs. When you do have some kind of cross-site scripting vulnerability in your extension, basically you let every user that runs that access to your user in that WordPress website access to his browser cookies, so which can lead to either privilege escalation, unwanted user creation, full site takedown, takeover, shell injection, and you name it.
So let's have a live demo real quick. Let's see how WordPress is actually not very good at handling
Again, technical difficulties.
Yeah, okay, let's do, well, it is in this browser. So let's go and create a post and see just how WordPress, some of what WordPress itself does is not necessarily secure. I guess they have the reasons for it, but post title, for example, doesn't undergo any sanitation before it is inserted into the database. So we can, it's basically a string. So we close a string, we open a script tag, and then inside the script tag, we can put anything we want, including JavaScript. And when this is even saved as a draft, that you don't even have to publish it. It's enough that a subscriber, some websites allow subscribers to
contributors to actually write
contributors to write content and suggest posts. So you can suggest a draft, and if any admin or anything like that goes into this draft, it will run your code. As you can see here, this code ran. There's no sanitation. This is just a simple page. It has nothing in it. It's a hello theme, hello Elementor theme page, and there's no sanitation for the title, so it runs. So this is just like a simple example of how dangerous this is. Imagine you can put anything you want in here and it will run. So that's it for the demo, and let's continue.
So how do you prevent XSS vulnerability? The rule of thumb is you never insert untrusted data except in allowed locations. But that exception also has other exceptions around it. What does that mean? It means that you always, even if you do know where the code is coming from, always sanitize, escape, encode, and validate that it's valid and it should be there. If it's HTML, make sure the tags, the attributes, both attribute name and values are escaped, and the content of the HTML, the inner text of the HTML tag, also make sure it's valid. And even HTML comments, because this is, if you take data which you print as a comment, you can mess up if you don't clean that up.
Yeah, someone can close a comment and run anything that they want.
Exactly. They can close a comment and open a script tag and whatever. Always sanitize it. JavaScript, if your code prints out to the page, JavaScript variables, sanitize the variable names and their values, not only the values. And CSS property, even CSS values, property values, need to be escaped. As you can see from the example here, a simple browser would run that and would actually run alert 1, and it's using the JavaScript URL protocol. So like the thing you need to take from here is never trust anyone, even if you're 100% sure the code is clean and you're safe. Just for example, if you print something like a title, which is using one of the WordPress translation wrappers like underscore,
Yeah, even
underscore,
translations are not safe.
underscore, or
Underscore E, underscore
yeah, all
X.
those translations wrappers. If someone on the translation team side puts a malicious script, which is the translation of that, and you just print out the translation
with no sanitation, then it will run. It will run the code. And like also WordPress has dedicated functions for all of these. WordPress has ESC underscore HTML, ESC underscore ATTR, which is good for both names and HTML name and attribute value. ESC URL for sanitizing URLs. And these things are all like very good. They do a good job. They do the job
for you. Just
yeah, and they're built into WordPress, so use them everywhere. So that's about that. Let's move on to cross-site request forgery.
Cross-site request forgery. Basically, it's bad people getting your users to do stuff they're not aware of them doing it. It came from basically it comes from external websites like mail or blog or social media link, which contains a few parameters, and when you access that and you do have privileges on that site, probably some kind of code runs and you're not even aware of that code that runs or that action until it's performed already. And in our world, we've seen a few extensions, third-party plugins that are actually were vulnerable for that. And it's very common in WordPress when using AJAX requests. And WordPress does have a mechanism how to deal with it, which is it's the nonce, and the nonce is a number used once, right?
That's what it's supposedly supposed to be.
That's the real idea behind it.
Yeah,
but it's not really implemented that way in WordPress. But again, if you do use it, you're like 99% safe.
Yeah.
And when you do use it, we have like our own rule of thumb to make sure that we're safe, because even if you do have a nonce, but all your actions are validated against that nonce. Let's say, for example, your nonce allows a user to both get a post and create a post, right?
Yeah.
And someone else, which is not privileged to create a post, has that same nonce. If it's the same nonce, the action will allow it. So combine that with other checks, as in checks that the user can actually do what is trying to do, but always use that nonce which makes the request validated, and you know that it came from a place that should have come, and you know that the user is valid to run that request.
Yeah, and also nonces are valid for 12 to 24 hours, so their life cycle
it kind of depends. You can it's actually a pluggable function in WordPress, which means maybe someone has a different version of nonce on his site or of all of these. But yeah, it's something that lays in a
yeah, I mean, imagine you have like a form, a credit card form, like, I don't know, someone's address details, and this thing is sent. If you have some script in your page that can fill out these forms and send it automatically, then like if you don't have a nonce to verify, it's very dangerous. And also, if anything you print out that can bring user input, any forms input, something that can be sent to the backend via AJAX request, you have to use WP create nonce. And
not only
AJAX
AJAX request, you would want to use the nonce even if it's a simple form without any AJAX request or whatever. Just use a nonce on every form, on every access to one of the global super globals, either request, post, get.
Yeah, request, post, get.
Always validate the nonce before you actually go there.
So you use WP create nonce when you print out any content in your site, and then on the back end, where you accept whatever is sent, if it's a form, if it's an AJAX request, anything, you use the WP verify nonce, and that will you pass it the string that you used for the create nonce.
Yeah, it's called the action, and that's like what you see under that. It says use a unique, and it's all like in caps and bold, non-spare action. It's like just what I talked before. Every action should have its own nonce. It's tedious and it's kind of it's like I'm doing the same thing. No, you're doing something different, and it's like it takes the security from like 20% to 90%. Different nonce per action.
Yeah. All right. Some other vulnerabilities that you might
some other vulnerabilities. They kind of go together with what we talked about until now, but again, privilege escalation, which can easily be avoided if you use the current user can and capabilities of WordPress to check and test those things. File upload vulnerabilities. Anytime you allow someone to upload a file, it's like it should like throw alerts and red lights, and you should do that with caution. I know that we in our forms plugin forms widget we allow file uploads, and that's after we change the file name. We put it in a directory which is fixed with index HTML or index PHP to avoid browsing, and if we recognize that it's htaccess, it's Apache server, we put an htaccess file, which disallows running any of that code. And you should like take care of any of the possibilities. When you let someone upload a file, you can upload a shell, and you don't want them to upload a shell, any kind of file, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's WordPress has like a limit on file types, but it's easily liftable. Like we in Elementor, we allow SVG files, so we ask our users to allow uploading
and
like,
take responsibility that they know.
They know that what they're doing when they want to upload an SVG file. They allow uploading of non-standard file types. And so, yeah, really, WordPress has a bunch of these mechanisms built in that many people don't know. Like current user can is like a very basic action. Like if you create a post, if you create a user, a bunch of these things happen in backends in WordPress for third-party plugins, and it's these kinds of mechanisms using these kinds of checks like get option users can register can really prevent almost all of these vulnerabilities, like privilege escalation.
Maybe it won't prevent it, but it make it the impact of it. Yeah, the impact of it will be less of an issue, but it will be more difficult for the attackers to do something like that.
Yeah.
And, just one more capability you should all be aware of, as it's called unfiltered HTML, right?
Yeah, right.
And allow file uploads, and there's actually a few capabilities that should be
dangerous and never used.
Yeah, they should be your Bible when you do stuff like that, but they're almost never used, and we think you should really
look into that.
Consider it. Yeah.
All right. So what we do in Elementor, whoa.
Yeah, you jumped a little.
What did I do just now? Oh no.
You got excited.
I got excited.
Because we got to the interesting stuff. We thought
we got to the interesting stuff. Yeah, exactly. When we wanted to talk about how we do stuff in Elementor, this is supposed to say CI on the right side.
That's okay.
So how we do security. Security is like a daily thing. It's like part of our workflow in Elementor, and we want to share with you kind of a little bit of how we do things. And first of all, we integrate automatic checking and linting into our IDEs. We're going to talk about it in a second. And we also use, we rely on continuous integration heavily. We use GitHub Actions in Elementor, and you can actually go into the Elementor repository, and there's an Actions tab, and you can actually see the tests that we run in Elementor for each and every PR, and like no pull request is merged without like a million tests running on it. And that's like super important. It's really not complicated to do. And
It's
like
something that takes time setting up only once, but it runs and it keeps you covered, and it prevents those pitfalls.
yeah, and
That word.
it's really it's been countless times that our CI found like things that are wrong with our code and prevented like bad things from getting into the Elementor plugins, and it's really a lifesaver.
And oh, there's the CI. And like you said, we do Elementor is open source, right? You can all access the repository.
Yeah,
you can actually see the code itself that runs the CI if you go to
.github and
.workflows. Yeah, and you can actually see the
there's YML files that actually like tells GitHub what to run whenever a build is happening.
And we're just using GitHub Actions, but it doesn't matter what kind of continuous integration you guys are using, or if you're not using, you should be starting to use that. It's automation that makes your life easier, and it keeps you safe if you're using it for things like security linting. And either Travis, Circle CI, Jenkins, GitLab, whatever you do, just use it.
Yeah.
You actually.
I don't know why this happened. I don't know.
Great.
Anyway, a huge tool that's very basic that we can't live without is PHP Code Sniffer. You can use it in a couple of different ways. You can either run it on all of your code base once, like before you want to like push like a commit or make a pull request, you run it over your code and see that everything's okay. And it actually gives you like a report. And if it finds something wrong, it gives you a report and tells you exactly what file, what line number it is, and what's the error. So here is an example. This is from my ID from within Elementor. It tells you, okay, you have a super global post variable that you're trying to access, and you don't have any nonce verification. So this is like an example of this, how this is an integrated
into your development workflow, even before you push the code for testing the CI. This is right on your IDE, and once you use that, you get used to writing code which is more secure, and
it actually improves like how you write code.
Exactly.
And like in Elementor, we mostly use PHP Storm, which integrates beautifully with PHP Code Sniffer, but VS Code, which is free, is also, you can also integrate that into it, and it works great. And it's like highly recommended. I can't live without it anymore. Like I don't see myself developing without the PHP CS active. And like it really, if you take anything out of this, is use the code sniffer. And a little bit on how you use it. You can, it's actually, you define rules for it. And it actually just enforces these rules. And maybe we'll take a look at Elementor's rule just to show you what we have. And first of all, Elementor uses WordPress security rule. WordPress itself has its own security rules that help you do secure development. You can also write custom rule sets, but this is Elementor master rule set XML.
I think you should zoom in because
and I'll zoom in so you can see, because the screen is very small. Yeah. You see, this is Elementor coding standard. You have a rule set name. You can name your rule set whatever you want.
There's a bunch of rules, but if you look at the WordPress CSRF and security, it's actually the rules that are defined here. And like we said, it's in our repo. We encourage you guys to actually use that as well.
You can just copy it and use it if you want.
And if you look at the names of the rules, you'd understand that it's talking about it's just taking care and covering you from making mistakes of what we talked about, like escaping these XSS escape output. The output is not escaped, or
if you have
CSRF nonce verification, no nonce verification, stuff like that. which is exactly the things that we need to keep us from like making those little mistakes and allowing those vulnerabilities to exist.
Yeah, and it's actually very straightforward. Like if you have in your plugin, you want to render something, you want to print something out, so you use an echo statement or you use a printf statement or anything like that. If you have a PHPCS linter running, it will tell you that you have an error. Okay, if you don't escape that echo, whatever the string that's echoed or the string that's printed with printf, it will tell you, okay, this is wrong. And like in Elementor, if something like that happens, the PR will fail.
Yeah, so it actually it runs in a few levels in your IDE, right, where you develop. And once we push the code, the PR itself, the pull requests, it gets stopped, and it's actually blocked from merge because of those things.
Let's just look at a pull request that we have and see that you have here the GitHub actions. It tells you here if the PR is passed or not. I'm trying to see.
Yeah, it's the V and the X.
Oh, there the X. Right? Okay, let's see. You see an X here. It says we have 15 different test suites that run on each pull request, and you can see that, okay, 2 of them failed here. So this is not a good, I mean, we do have security linting and stuff, but let's see one that's.
No, it's pending.
It's pending, but
Yeah,
you can see you can see here we have a screenshot, or we actually have pages that run on the with a production version of a page with a bunch of widgets in it, and whenever you submit a PR, it creates an identical page from your PR, and if anything moved, any widgets are not in the same location, any text moved or anything like that, then the test will fail. And
it's actually a visual regression test.
It's a visual regression test, yeah. We have JSQnit, Lighthouse, JSLint, ESLint, PHP unit. We have unit tests. This is also like another thing it's not very much specifically security related, but it can also help find security issues. Use unit tests, test your code. We test different versions of WordPress. We have PHP lint, which is what the code sniffer helps with. And that's a good example of the tests that we do here. And you can write custom rule sets for yourself. I'm sure like a simple Google, in 5-10 minutes, you can learn how to write your own rules, and it can be really helpful for you, like whatever workflow you have.
Yeah, these are the rules that we wanted to show you.
Yeah, there's a bunch more, but these are just examples of how, like, input not sanitized, output not escaped, nonce verification, very basic stuff that can really save you from security pitfalls. I think that's pretty much we've covered.
Yeah, so we've covered a few things. We covered what we want to do here. We talked about the common like the most common vulnerabilities that come out of the ecosystem, which is XSS and CSRF, which is cross-site scripting and cross-site request forgery. We talked about a few more. We talked about how we can prevent them in action, and we've talked about how to integrate it into our workflow of actually making our development security oriented from the first second that we actually write the code until we actually commit it to the source, the master source of our product.
So what did we discuss here? Like, let's kind of sum it up for you guys to make it a little bit more organized. So we talked about common vulnerability types, cross-site scripting. Yeah, anyway, cross-site, CSRF, best practices for prevention, the things that we actually do in Elementor. And I mean, I guess no one is like fully safe, but I guess you do what you can. And if you follow these best practices, like 99%, you're going to be 99% covered.
It wouldn't be a mindset. It's actually something that you need to train. You set yourself to develop with security in mind. So you get better at it, and it won't. It's not like if you follow this, you're 100% safe. No, we're not saying that, but we are saying that if you follow this, you were a lot closer to being safe than not doing that.
Code validation, PHPCS, download it, use it. It's free.
It integrates with any ID that you're working with, any code editor. Actually, I see no reason not to use it.
And continuous integrations, use GitHub Actions, Travis, Jenkins, any CI platform, and run all your code through it before putting it into your product. Automated testing. This is everything basically in a nutshell. So we have some time for questions, and we are starting to get them.
I got one here. Why have you excluded? It doesn't say who is it from, Ron, but anyway, why have you excluded most of the security related rules in the rule set XML? That can be true. We've not excluded. We might have.
No, our rule set extends WordPress, so
Exactly.
everything in WordPress is actually in there, and our rule set is an extension. So it's not that we have excluded. We have like a basic rule set from WordPress, and whatever we do is added onto that one.
Well, I do have the name, but there's no way I could pronounce that right. Simrandeep.
Simrandeep.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Hope that answers your question.
Hope so.
It seems like we've been really clear, because we see that there's no other questions.
Not so many questions.
So
we can expect no security issues.
Yeah, from now on, no security issues. But like Svi said, this is one of many webinars that we want to have with you guys. We want to keep this relationship and warm it up, because like we said in the beginning, this is something that will help both of us. It's like you having our back and us having your back. We're all in this ecosystem, and we all want this ecosystem to succeed. So thank you very much for giving us your time. Thank you, Udi.
Thank you, Claude.
And
guys, just one more. We have one more question.
Go for
it.
Yeah, there we go. I hope the ball's rolling now. So we have a question from our Pete, and he's asking, how can we secure code from jQuery issues?
That's like a very generic question, because jQuery could have so many issues, and it depends on what exactly you mean. But if you are developing using jQuery and extending it, make sure you follow the guidelines. If your jQuery development is actually making requests to your server, then make sure that request comes with a nonce token.
If you output content using jQuery, you can encode it. That you can use like encode URI component and JavaScript functions that are used for escaping to make sure that whatever content you pass to jQuery is safe.
Exactly.
So we're not really sure about exactly what the question is.
But it's jQuery and any other JavaScript code that you write. You make sure that it's encoded anywhere input comes from the user. They're not bad users. They're just they're used. The attackers are bad, and they attack users which are innocent, and they don't know they're doing that. So any input that comes out, you never trust it. You always escape it. You always validate it in JavaScript and jQuery as well.
Yeah. Okay. If we have no more questions, we can pass the presentation back to Zvi to give like some final words.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Thank you, guys.
You could leave your share screen. Oh, that's fine as well.
Whatever.
So, guys, so first of all, again, thank you very much for joining us. I think this was very, very important, not only from a knowledge perspective and to get like you guys up to date if we helped at all with security issues, but just to gather us all together again and have us here for the first time actually on a webinar. We're done. I mean, thank you very much for attending and taking the time to to be here with us. I hope it was really helpful for you guys in educating. I really strongly encourage you guys to implement the knowledge that you learned here, if at all, into your day-to-day work. Because like Ohad and I said at the beginning, this is the situation is that it's a win-win for both of us. If we do a good job, you guys look good. If you guys do a good job, we look good. And if we all look good together, then more users will be using Elementor as an ecosystem. And that's what we're all here to do, basically. So let's make that happen. I'll be sending a follow-up email with a recording of this webinar, so you guys can maybe go over some of the information afterwards. Possibly we'll send a presentation or pieces of it as well. You could email us at partner@elementor.com for any questions or related to this webinar or unrelated, or if you have ideas for other webinars you think that we should be doing and things that you'd like to hear about from our developers. If you think that there's anyone on this that should be here and isn't here, please send us his information as well, or you could send our information to him so that we could connect. We're here at the Elementor headquarters. I just want to thank Ohad and Udi very, very much for their time and investing into teaching us some of their skills and some of the stuff that they've picked up over the way at Elementor. I also want to thank Alon for being a real champ here on everything related to the logistics of putting this together. And most importantly, I'm going to thank you guys for taking an hour out of your busy day to hear us, to see us, and to hopefully learn a bit more and make Elementor as a whole better for all of our users. So that's that. I think we didn't get any more questions, right? Did we? Nope, I think that's good. Okay, so you have our email now in the chat box. You could see partner@elementor.com. Feel free to just email us. We'll give you the attention you deserve. And that's it. Thank you very, very much, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.